This is the Columbia River Gorge. It separates the state of Washington and Oregon. Growing up, my father used to call this God's country. At the time, I had no idea what he was talking about. But as I get older, I'm starting to understand what he meant. That's Beacon Rock. We don't even bother to call it a hill or a mountain. It's just a rock you can climb. And all that stuff you see in the background, those are just hills. In 1971, Mrs. Baxter was interviewed by a local news station. She was headed home in this general area when she describes running into a creature.
But before I stopped the car, I heard this whomping sound, and that's why I thought I had a flat. But I couldn't understand because we just put new tires on, and I could have been making a noise or beating on his chest or the pole. It was only about probably 1 foot from the pole.
You hear, in this area, you hear noises at night, I understand.
Oh, yeah.
There aren't cougar noises. There aren't bear noises.
No. Right. There's no noise to describe it, really, because I just never heard anything like it. Cougars don't make that noise. Bears don't. Elk or moose or whatever else around.
Something else is out there.
There's something else out there, okay. And it's not just at night, it's in the daytime, too, because they've been hearing them day, night, evening, mornings, even high noon.
Do you see things? Is it just the noise?
Noises mostly, other than when I've seen this creature down there.
Mrs. Baxter, being a local resident, was going home that day. She just crossed the Bridge of the Gods from Oregon to Washington. Why did they call it the Bridge of the Gods? I have no clue. It's a beautiful area. They might have overshot with the name. As she came across the bridge, she went west towards Portland. Around the Beacon Rock area, she ran into a very strange creature.
It's below Beacon Rock. There's a real wide shoulder just as you go across the bridge, and I just pulled up. I just knew I had a flat, but I couldn't understand. So I got out, and I always keep my right door locked. I get on the left, and I go around with my back to the woods, and I look up and under my car, around the wheel, no flat. So I feel up in there, and while I'm feeling, I suddenly turn around and I'm face to face with him. I mean, it just feels like, it felt like there was something staring at me, is why I looked.
And you were face to face with?
I just about 15 feet from me.
What was it?
I don't know. As far as I know, I suppose it'd be Bigfoot, but he was the biggest animal I've ever seen.
Again, this is Beacon Rock. It's about 40 or so miles outside of Portland, Oregon, as you're heading down towards the gorge. Mrs. Baxter was coming from the opposite direction. The highway runs parallel with the Columbia River, and just below me is where everyone parks if you want to climb Beacon Rock. She goes on to describe the creature.
Dark brown, with terrible glowing eyes. His head was sort of receded, I suppose that's the word. Big teeth, long hair, I suppose it was 3 or 4 inches long. And big wide shoulders, there was no neck. I mean, it just looked like its head set right in its shoulders.
A simple ride home, traveling from the Bridge of the Gods to Beacon Rock. One stop is all it took to change Mrs. Baxter's life forever. She has a message for the skeptics out there.
In the course of this thing, we're going to talk to a lot of people who are going to say there's no such thing, that they work at universities in Seattle or in Portland. What's your reaction to those people who simply stand up and say, there's no pictures of it, it's not there?
I don't really know. After seeing it, I just can't help but believe there is, and I think they're crazy. They don't have a broad enough mind about it.
There's simply no doubt in your mind there is something there. Something.
There is something, definitely. But put a name on it, I couldn't. It's big and it's terrible looking.